Good evening. I would like to call the December 11th Indian Head Park Board of Trustees meeting to order. Can we please have roll call? Clerk.
Trustee Iannacco?
Here.
Trustee Saldana?
Here.
Trustee Eck?
Here.
Trustee Donnersberger? Trustee Svetka?
Here.
Trustee Gazis? And President Amy Jo Wittenberg.
Here. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to our village board meeting this evening. And for those of us on either Channel 6 or our YouTube channel, we are glad that you're able to join us this evening for an important meeting. The first order of business will be to open the public hearing regarding the proposed redevelopment plan. Can I have a motion, please, to open the public hearing?
I move to open the public hearing for the proposed redevelopment plan and project and the designation of the Triangle Area Tax Increment Financing District.
Second that.
Great. That was a first by Trustee Saldana and a second by Trustee Eck. Can we please have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Iannacco?
Aye.
Trustee Saldana?
Aye.
Trustee Eck?
Aye.
Trustee Svetka?
Aye.
4-0, motion carries.
Great, thank you. Before we move on to the public hearing, I'd like to do the village president's report first. Is that okay, Council?
Yeah.
Council?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
It's open, and then you can just go back to it.
Okay. Just wanted to provide an update on the Plainfield Road redesign project. Cook County is currently finalizing the project report, which will be submitted to the Illinois Department of Transportation for design approval for the Plainfield Road redesign project. Phase 1 is anticipated to be completed in late 2025 this year. Phase 2, which consists of the preparation of design engineering documents and land acquisition, is anticipated to begin in 2026. The earliest construction of Phase 3, which would be the start of construction, is anticipated to commence. The earliest it would be is in 2028. That is for Plainfield Road. So don't be confused with the Wolf Road project. This is specifically the Plainfield Road project, which is from County Line Road all the way to East Avenue, for those of you that aren't familiar with that project. Public comments were collected on August 20th, 2025, and the project team will be responding to individual questions via email by the end of this month. So if you did have a specific question at the meeting at Highland School, they are going to be responding to specific questions via email to you directly. A newsletter was sent via email to people that have signed up to receive updates on the project website. So if you want to get updates on Plainfield Road, it's the improveplainfieldroad.org link. Just like Wolf Road is wolfroadstudy.org. The second public information meeting was held on August 4th of 2025, and the fall newsletter recaps the meeting, also has frequently asked questions, and discusses the next steps. All the roadway alternatives and the roadway designs are online. I have a lot of people asking me questions about the roadway designs that are currently under consideration for both Plainfield Road and Wolf Road are all available online. If you cannot find them, please contact us and we will help you find those maps if you can't find them, okay? And if you need to email the county, you can email them at info@improveplainfieldroad.org. Our senior congregate meals will be on December 18th here at Village Hall at 1:30. We will have lunch followed by a musical performance, and you should feel free to email or call Aging Care Connections if you'd like to attend our luncheon. I would like to thank our Public Works team. We received a $25,000 grant from the Morton Arboretum, and we have Also, yes, we appreciate that. And we also had to put in $25,000 from the village and all of you residents, which we appreciate, for a total of $50,000 to plant 25 new trees in the fall, funded by the Morton Arboretum CRTI grant, targeting areas of greatest need within the public right-of-way, as identified by our tree management consultant and our Public Works team. Spring Grove Nursery provided the 25 trees, which included 7 different species. Funding was provided by the Morton Arboretum. Trees were planted on November 5th by our vendor iTrees and our Public Works staff. New tree recipients were notified, congratulated, and provided with care instructions. Public Works staff installed gator bags and mulch for the initial watering. Every planting location was photographed and documented to meet our grant standards. The Public Works team and tree consultant recently completed a tree inventory for the updated urban forestry master plan, aiding in the management of a healthy urban forest. The spring planting program, which is also grant funded, will include 25 additional trees. And I've just put up there the species, 7 different species of trees to create a diverse canopy. Those are listed up there in coordination with our tree consultant. And last but not least, our annual Frosty Fest is December 21st, Sunday. If you have children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, neighbors, bring them by 11 to 1. We have Santa and live reindeer. And even if you are an adult and you want to come visit our live reindeer, they are amazing. So please come by to visit us. We're going to have hot chocolate and cookies and a lot of fun, crafts and all of that. So come by right in this room. The reindeer will be outside, though, for obvious reasons. So please come and join us for that wonderful event. We thank all of our volunteers that help us with that. So moving right along. Tonight, our development consultants from SB Friedman Development Advisors, who prepared the eligibility study and redevelopment plan, will present an overview of the proposed TIF district, including its purpose, boundaries, and how it supports our long-term goals for redevelopment of the Triangle area. Following the presentation, members of the public will have the opportunity to ask questions or offer public comment on the plan. Also, please note that the board will not be voting on the ordinances to establish the TIF district this evening. That action is scheduled for our next regular board meeting on January 8th, 2026 at 7 p.m. You are all welcome to come here to Village Hall and join us for that meeting as well. Public input is welcome tonight and may also be submitted in writing or shared at that meeting prior to board consideration. So if you have other feedback, we can take that feedback this evening at our public hearing, and we can also receive feedback via email or in person prior to the next board meeting on January 8th. All righty. And I think that I will be turning this over to Andrew from SB Friedman.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate the opportunity to come back this evening and talk about some of the work that we've been doing for the village as it relates to the proposed TIF district around the Triangle area. Have some slides up in a minute. Thank you very much. To walk through the eligibility research that we've done and talk about the redevelopment plan that we drafted, which is the guiding document for this TIF district. Just for awareness, we are, my colleague Jeff and I, working for SB Friedman Development Advisors. We're a Chicago-based consulting firm. Special district designations are one of our core service areas. So really appreciate coming out to talk and clarify sort of the intentions and the goals of this district and how it will function and why it can be supportive of overall village goals within the Triangle area. Before we get into the work that we've done, I did want to clarify and talk about TIF generally as a mechanism. TIF, or tax increment financing, is a common economic development tool used in Illinois and other states that is a way to reinvest property tax revenues into a specific target geography. The goal is to finance new development and new investment and construction. It is not a new tax levy. It does not increase the tax rate. It is a way of capturing a growth in property taxes and reinvesting that growth in property taxes within a target geography. I've got an illustration on the screen to sort of clarify the mechanisms of TIF. So when you think about the triangle area, there's an existing property value within, among those 12 parcels. Those parcels today generate tax revenues for taxing bodies. When a TIF is adopted, the existing value of those parcels is what we call the frozen base EAV. That amount is set in perpetuity to continue providing tax revenues to overlapping taxing districts. That's represented by the dark blue navy bars in the middle of this graph. What the TIF district does is it captures the incremental growth in property values and the associated tax revenues, and those revenues are what is available to be reinvested within the TIF district. Over time, ideally, the property values grow, therefore generating additional revenue that can be reinvested and support new development projects. And after the life of the TIF, in this case, the initial term is 23 years, the full value of those properties are unfrozen and continue to support property tax revenues collected by overlapping taxing districts. So wanted to provide that context. But next, I'll talk about the work we did over the summer to assess the eligibility of this area to be a TIF district. As I mentioned, the triangle area, which for those who are unfamiliar, is between Joliet Road, Wolf Road, and the Tollway, consists of 12 parcels, 4 of which are considered improved. They have structures and buildings on them. 8 are considered vacant. And there's currently a mix of uses, primarily commercial and residential, as well as I mentioned, some vacant parcels. To conduct our eligibility work, we looked at a variety of data sources. We ourselves came out and conducted parcel by parcel field work to look at existing property conditions. We also used publicly available data from the Assessor's Office of Cook County to understand building age and historic property value trends. We received from the village helpful data on building age, the presence of necessary utilities. We also looked at historic building permit records to understand recent private investment activity. And we also wanted to make sure that what we're looking at aligns with the goals within the village comprehensive plan, which is required by state statute. So we reviewed that document, and all these factors and data sets together helped us understand, again, the eligibility of this area to be a TIF. When you're assessing TIF eligibility, there are really 2 assessments that happen. One is specific to improved land, one is specific to vacant land. As I mentioned, we have both of those present within the proposed TIF district here. So as it pertains to improved land, you can either find that these parcels are eligible as a blighted area or as a conservation area. You can see that the threshold to determine eligibility is slightly different between those 2 different pathways. Ultimately, within the triangle area, we found that it qualifies as a conservation area, meaning that over half of the buildings are at least 35 years of age or older, and the presence of at least 3 of 13 possible eligibility factors are present. Those 3 factors that we found are lack of growth in property value or equalized assessed value, deterioration, and the presence of structures below minimum code, in addition to the age of the buildings. So I'll talk about each of those 3 factors that we found to be present here. Starting with lack of EAV growth, we looked at property values among the improved parcels over the last 5 year-to-year periods. And based on one of the benchmarks defined in the state statute, we compared that growth to growth in the consumer price index and found that over 3 of the last 5 year-to-year periods, property value growth among the improved parcels was less than growth among CPI. Therefore, that illustrates a lack of EAV growth that's defined by state law, and we therefore found lack of EAV growth to be a factor present area-wide among the improved parcels. The second eligibility factor that we found was deterioration on 4 of 4 improved parcels. This was seen during our field work. What we saw was surface deterioration pertaining to cracks in public and private infrastructure, crumbling pavement, and some building deterioration as well, specifically missing or deteriorating building siding. Based on the fact that all 4 improved parcels exhibited signs of deterioration, we again found this factor to be meaningfully present and reasonably distributed throughout the RPA. The third and final eligibility factor we assessed and found to be present regarding the improved parcels is the lack of compliance with minimum building code. All 6 structures, again, are not found to be within the current codes adopted by the village. While most of these are, in fact, grandfathered in, it's the presence of structures below minimum code standards and the associated costs of bringing those buildings up to code that may be inhibiting the economic viability and health of the area. Again, based on the fact that the construction date of these buildings precedes the most recent building codes adopted, we found this fact to be present throughout the improved parcels within the district. So that pertains to the improved parcels, the 4 improved parcels. The second assessment pertains to the 8 vacant parcels within the proposed TIF district. Again, there are 2 possible paths that you can take to evaluate eligibility of vacant parcels. We used what's called the 2-factor test, where you have to find at least 2 of 6 possible factors present. Based on our research, we found 3 factors present, which qualifies the area as a blighted area among vacant parcels. Those 3 factors we found were lack of growth in EAV, deterioration adjacent to vacant land, and obsolete platting. I'll talk through each of those next. As I mentioned, for the improved parcels, the same is true of vacant parcels. Property value growth of vacant parcels was less than CPI in 3 of the last 5 years. Furthermore, we saw that property values actually declined among vacant parcels in 3 of the last 5 years, underscoring the point that there's a lack of EAV or property value growth among vacant parcels. The second factor, deterioration adjacent to vacant land, was again based on our fieldwork we conducted, where we documented surface deterioration and building deterioration on both improved and vacant parcels, and saw that either all vacant parcels had or were adjacent to deterioration, which again illustrates that the factor is found to be meaningfully present and reasonably distributed throughout the RPA. Third and final is obsolete platting. We found 5 of 8 vacant parcels to exhibit signs of obsolete platting. In this instance, obsolete platting refers to insufficient access to right-of-way or insufficient lot area to attract contemporary development based on parcel size, shape, layout. Any of these issues can complicate the ability to attract new development, see new investment, and based on where these parcels are throughout the proposed district, we again found this factor to be meaningfully present and reasonably distributed. So beyond the initial assessment of eligibility of improved and vacant parcels, there are additional tests outlined within the Illinois TIF Act that have to be satisfied for an area to qualify as a TIF district. So I'll walk through our findings pertaining to those additional tests. The first is lack of growth from private investment. I already mentioned the lack of EAV growth seen on both improved and vacant parcels. And I mentioned earlier that we reviewed building permit activity within the triangle area as well. What we saw was a limited number of building permits, mostly pertaining to signage or limited interior-exterior rehabilitation, but no new development, no significant redevelopment or rehabilitation of existing structures. That's even further evidenced by the lack of EAV growth among parcels, that what investment did occur was quite limited and did not have a large boost on growth in EAV, and therefore we found that overall there has been a lack of growth from private investment. The second test is what's called the but-for test, which is an assessment or a finding that but for the support of public entities and the use of public resources, redevelopment is unlikely to occur. Again, the lack of EAV growth, the lack of significant new investment or development illustrates this point that but for the use of other economic development tools, it's unlikely for redevelopment and new investment to occur. The third test is really looking at what is the area proposed to be within a TIF. Are those parcels contiguous, and are they all expected to substantially benefit? We think that the targeted nature of this TIF district supports that finding. Additionally, as I mentioned earlier, we've reviewed the 2015 comprehensive plan for the village to make sure that the TIF would support goals outlined within that document. And we've, again, found the goals of the village to align with the goals and use of TIF. After that is what the state requires is a housing impact study if there's anticipated displacement of 10 or more occupied units. Based on our conversations so far, if we have the village, no new development is anticipated that would result in that displacement, and therefore no housing impact study was required. And then lastly, is a requirement to make sure that any sort of obligation or financing supported with or through TIF expires within the state mandated timeline of TIF, which is true and documented further within the redevelopment plan that we've drafted. And with that in mind, I'll switch over to talking about this redevelopment plan because it's the guiding document of the TIF district. It outlines what the major objectives are. It, again, summarizes all of our eligibility research and findings, so it's a more complete summary of the work that we've done so far on behalf of the village. It contains a budget which outlines some of the key financial metrics and constraints of the TIF district, and also talks about proposed future land uses within the TIF district. So I'll talk about each of those on the subsequent slides. Starting with the major redevelopment objectives. Ultimately, the TIF is meant to address the blighting factors and conditions within the triangle area. So the redevelopment objectives really reflect that intention. So the goals being to facilitate physical improvements to buildings and structures, supporting any sort of infrastructure, repairs, upgrades, maintenance, improving the public realm through streetscaping, landscaping, other beautification efforts to make the proposed RPA more attractive to new development. Also, TIF being supporting the assembly of sites to make development opportunities among vacant sites, and also support marketing of those sites. And then furthermore, zooming out a bit more broadly, TIF generally being a tool that can support the goals in the comprehensive plan and also be one of other available tools at the federal, state, and local level to, again, advance the goals of the village. The budget within the TIF plan has really two important elements to it. One is that it lists all the eligible expense categories, projects and improvements that can be funded with TIF revenues. So not everything can be paid for through TIF or reimbursed through TIF, but there are specific costs that benefit public sector, the public realm, public generally, that can be funded through TIF. The second important element is the bottom line within the TIF. In this table, it's called the total redevelopment project costs. This is required through the state statute, and this sets a upper limit on expenditures within the project area, specifically funded through tax increment revenues. So the bottom line number here is $37 million. It's quite large. That's not an authorization or an obligation or commitment to spend those funds, again, based on what's required by the state. That's an upper limit on the use of TIF funds within the project area. That can only be changed through amendment to this plan, which would require adoption and approval by the board. I think lastly is the discussion of future land use, which is required to be in part of the redevelopment plan. As is the case today, the idea going forward is that this would continue to be a mixed use area, primarily consisting of commercial and residential uses, as well as obviously public right of way. And this is in alignment with the comprehensive plan of the village. So that's a summary of the work we've done and what you can find within the redevelopment plan document. As the village president mentioned, this public hearing is meant to provide information, answer any questions. And it's not at this meeting that any decision will be made about the TIF district. That's at the upcoming board meeting in January. So with all that being said, I'm happy to step back. If there are any questions, we can provide any clarity, and we can go from there. Thank you.
Do we take questions at this time?
See if the board has any questions and then any public, yeah.
First, if we can have any board questions? Any of the trustees, anybody on the board have questions? Hearing none, I think we would be open to taking questions from the public. If you would come to the podium, please, let us know your name. Did we receive any questions on email, Andres, clerk? No. All righty, I'm not hearing any public questions. Come on.
Okay, so, hi, I'm Tony Colant, Studio Suites. This will affect everyone's taxes in that park or just the TIF area, just that area? It won't affect taxes?
So it's very technical, the way the presentation comes and uses all of these ways of explaining TIFs in financial and technical way. But basically, what is happening is that in that area of the triangle, the value that is assessed by the assessor or the value given to the property is now gonna be the same for when calculating the money that goes to the schools, the park,
Sure.
whatever. And as the years pass, the assessor will continue growing that assessment the way that it has always happened, but the difference is gonna go into a special fund.
I got
So
that.
now the schools and the parks are gonna get the same exact amount of money today that they're gonna get for the next 20 years. But the difference that they would have gotten if the property was assessed correctly, you know, for given the property taxes bill as it was, that difference is going to go in a special pot to be reinvested into the triangle. So the taxes are the same. No one is going to get more taxes than they would have gotten. It's the same. It's just how it gets redistributed.
Just those lots.
Just those lots.
And just to
In that area.
clarify, that doesn't mean that the taxes are going to be frozen, but the increase goes to the
To the
to the
special pot.
triangle, rather than to everywhere else.
Actually reinvest in
Is
the,
reinvested.
That's exactly what it is, reinvestment in there, which would draw more business to the businesses that are
yeah,
there
that's
currently.
The whole point of this is to add,
Bring-
bring more people in that want to buy the rest of it, or all of it, or we don't even know yet, right?
Yeah.
We're assuming they might take everything out of there and sell it all eventually?
That is a different issue. Whomever owns the triangle, that's a completely different issue. The issue is that we would like to make sure that there's an investment pot of money created for reinvesting into that area to beautify it
Okay, thank you.
and make it better.
Perfect, thank you.
So on page 20, it lists the major redevelopment objectives where that money could be used. So
Yeah.
there was 1 through 6. It was facilitate the physical improvement or rehabilitation of existing structures. Foster the replacement, repair, construction, and improvement of public infrastructure. Provide resources for streetscaping, landscaping, and signage. Facilitate the assembly, preparation, and marketing of available sites. Support the goals and objectives of other overlapping plans. So we're at the point right now where we do not have a actionable development plan for the parcels, correct? We just have this TIF that we are discussing right now to fund the 5 or 6 development objectives we just listed. So it could be something that, if there was a current business there that needed facade updates, that could be, hypothetically, we could use money, if that was approved, it'd have to be approved by the board, to do facade updates. It could be sidewalk updates. We could do other improvements for the public or for your specific parcel or building. Or a developer could come and see us for one of the vacant properties and say, we would like to put up a building, an apartment building, but we need 2 other lots. That would be between you and the developer at that point. So we can't guess what's going to happen. All we can do is create and support a method of incenting people to be more interested in these parcels. Up to now, that hasn't happened because we didn't have a business district and we did not have a TIF district. So we are trying to facilitate the development or the improvement of the parcels. But we are not telling you, we don't know if that will be A, B, C, or D at this point.
And if I could just piggyback, so Tony, and I'll defer to Jeff and Andrew because they're the experts in the room. If the taxes don't go up, nothing goes into the reinvestment pot, right? So theoretically, property values and taxes going up in the district, ironically, is what we would want. But again, kind of like, Amy Jo Wittenberg, Mayor Wittenberg, Village President Wittenberg, stated, as it is now, we don't get any more interest outside the community to come in and say, hey, if I redevelop this land, then I know for the next 23 years, these property values are going to go up and the taxes go up, which I pay, but they are reinvested back into the area. That could help existing owners, obviously, but it gives you at least a half a shot that outside money has a structure in which to consider investing. Right now, I would say, and we've all been around, a lot of us various times, outside money has no incentive to come in to the triangle and in the absence of this type of plan. And again, I'll defer to Jeff and Andrew, could probably say it a lot more eloquently than I just tried, but we would want more revenue, more tax revenue to be reinvested. If we do this and everything stays the same, we've wasted everybody's time.
I thought I heard him say that it was going to be frozen. That's why I asked about it when he first talked about the tax rate.
So the frozen part is what goes to the schools and parks. That's what he meant. That amount is frozen. They get the same for the next 20 years. But the difference comes to a special savings account that is used for
So
reinvestment.
the taxing bodies get frozen, and that's why we had to have the joint review board with all of the taxing bodies invited to come here and vote on this.
Yeah, they need to
So
agree.
he went through that process. The reason why we had to do that, and by state law, is because they have a frozen for 23 years. They basically get frozen, right? So we have the responsibility to let the taxing bodies know that, and that's why we have to go through all of those formalized steps with them. And they come in here, we review the plans, very open, and tell them what's going on, because this does impact that part of the process. So they're all in the loop. This has all been done in a very open, transparent manner, and then we will continue to have that transparency with the taxing bodies and have another joint review board meeting a year from now. So next October, we will have another joint review board and give them an update on the project. So that's keeping everybody in the loop about what's going on with the taxing bodies. Does that answer your question, Tony? Yes. Okay. Any other questions from?
Go ahead.
Don't hesitate to come up, guys. This is the time to get everything out on the table.
Lisa Colant from Studio Suites. Has there been a study or an estimation on how long it would take to accumulate maybe 30,000, 50,000, 100,000? And then what's the procedure on who gets to apply for that first? Like the most needy, how do you, if I come to you and say, we need this, can I apply for it? But then the mall comes and says, well, if there's only a limited amount of money in the fund, we're hoping it still generates, but are you allowed to give that out, drain the fund, and keep doing that? And how are you going to, like, the most needy gets it first, or does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Good question. So I think to your first question about potential revenues,
Like how many years until we get to draw on it?
yeah, that's really a function of when new development or investment happens. It's all based on when the properties are reassessed, how much increase is there in those property values. So it's faster if somebody comes in tomorrow and says, I want to build something new. It's slower if it just takes a lot of time to attract that interest. So it's unknown, but setting up the framework, as the mayor was, or the president was saying, it's a framework to invite new development, and it supports overall long-term, over 23 years, potential to generate a large pot. I think ultimately the use of TIF funds is a decision, based on different relevant goals and priorities of the village. And if you took out everything in 1 year, it still accrues increment over the 23 years. So it's as needed, as seen fit. Yeah, I don't know if you want to add any context, Jeff.
Yeah. Andrew's got it exactly right. So spending the money is a separate board decision. So the there's two scales of projects. So this big project is someone comes forward with a big project that is an apartment building. The board loves it, the community loves it, it needs money. That gets evaluated by the board or by the staff, the board, consultants, whatever, decide if that's the right amount of money. We do work around that and say, this is a fair amount of money, this is a good way to give it to them. The taxes will be way higher because you're going from dirt to building. So that's, but there's an application. It's not necessarily like an application like you're applying for it's not usually, there's information that's needed, but it's not like a formal application. For smaller scale projects, sometimes there is a more formal application. I don't think this village has one of those yet because they don't have a TIF yet, but sometimes people have like a facade rehab program, and that's small dollars in general, and that would be, whatever, it varies, but small dollars. 50% match if you do your facade. I don't know your situation, but a small, person who owns a business says, I want to fix the front. Won't necessarily raise your taxes a lot, so that's the tricky part. The small projects don't create a lot of money. The big projects create a lot of money, and so you got to have some increment to give it back to people. Basically, I mean, Andrew's made that point. So that but it's all, is it serving the goals of the community and serving goals of the TIF plan? The TIF plan basically is here to support the goals of the comp plan. So if they think the project is worthy, they being the board, they can agree to give them the money. And there's rules and law and all this other stuff you have to work within, but it's there's some vetting process. Some of it's more mathy and some of it's more policy, I guess, if that helps. I don't know if that helps or got worse, but I'm trying.
You've done this obviously before. Lots of times. It worked well for each.
Not everyone, yeah, for sure. We've done some TIFs that nothing happened. I mean, that's a fact. Cornfields are the ones I'm thinking of. Small town, nothing's going on. They're kind of like, it's almost like putting a sign on the piece of dirt saying, we're open for business. It's like a second sign, you know what I mean? And they've tried and nothing happened, and they spent some money and they took a swing. But lots of towns have had a lot of success, and so it varies a lot. It depends a lot on the land, and landowners, frankly. About the odds of things going forward. If there's owners that are prepared to sell at a reasonable price, and a village is ready to participate financially, and the goals are aligned, things happen. And if but it takes a lot of people getting along, and seeing the same kind of path for TIFs to really, really work, because it's complicated. Public sector doesn't really get involved in real estate very much. And so when they do, it's not their job, frankly. This board isn't going to do that on 99% of this village, because it's just not what I presume, I shouldn't speak for this board. But that's how most boards are. They're not going to mess with your neighborhood or whatever. They're worried about very specific places that are very important. And so when the facts are right and opportunities present themselves, now they have a tool to maybe move things faster,
Yeah.
Okay.
It helps the village a lot.
That's exactly. I think without the tool in your toolbox, it sounds like there's been a lot of hope and aspiration, and sometimes you got to have some gasoline to put on the fire a little bit. I don't mean to be dramatic about it, or whatever. Some accelerant, maybe. It'd be better. That's not better. But anyhow, you get the idea, I hope. Yeah.
I just want to add one comment. One of the next steps in the process that we're going to do after now we've already established the business district, but then if the TIF district gets established, is we are going to be looking at creating those types of programs and mechanisms and analysis in there. So it's not like we're just going to wing it. We will be looking at, what our goals are as part of the process, looking at how to achieve those goals in the best manner, and then what mechanisms are in place on there. So as Jeff said, what are we looking at for big projects, and what are we looking at as maybe for smaller projects that are more preservation of what's currently there, or improvements of what's currently there. So facade improvements, or sometimes I've seen commercial alteration grants, same type of thing. And those will all be decisions that will be, as Mayor Wittenberg has made comment of, out in the open, in front of everybody, and we put those policies in place. So then the boards and the public will see who's getting the money, why it's getting there, how it's evaluated. And in some cases, there could be an application of, X amount in dollars. So
There are many more steps that will have to be completed before we know the answers to a lot of these questions. The village is going to have to spend a lot more money to try to figure out what is the best use and what are the opportunities for this land. This is the first part of a multi-phased project before we can answer a lot of these questions. So people are thinking this is going to happen like in the next 6 months. This is not that kind of a project. This is a project that's going to be several years. We are going to have to do another project with a consulting firm to do an economic analysis, to do a marketing plan, to do a lot of other work to find out who would be interested in this, make sure the word is out about these parcels, and to do this the right way. In the past, we haven't had any of those tools to market this as, could it be, a collection of parcels? Well, we don't know that now because no one's ever had those discussions with any of the landowners, right? So when we go through this process and these other phases, we will begin to have a dialogue and discussion about what could be. What could be in your minds? What's your vision for your land now, and what is your vision in the future? So in those next steps that we will be hiring a consultant to do these next steps, we first have to get the TIF approved. We have to do this in an open, transparent manner. That's why we're here tonight, to do this hearing, follow the law to establish the TIF. We will come back in January, we will approve the TIF. Once that is approved, we will fairly quickly establish another consulting agreement with a consultant to do the next steps, which will be the economic analysis and all of the other steps to get this rocking and rolling. But this will be a multi-year project. It will just have to be that way. Now, could luck come to us? Maybe. But I don't want anyone to think that that is a normal thing that would happen. Most of these projects happen over years and take time to, like baking a cake in the oven, right? They sort of got to get all the ingredients, get the right ingredients in there, and then we'll have a nice cake. So we are only just stirring the ingredients in the pot right now, getting them all in there, and then see if we have actually a cake that we can bake soon. So that's what we're doing right now. So yes, we will be talking to you and having a dialogue with you, landowners and parcel owners, probably next year at some point in the beginning of the year. Any other questions? Nick, do you have a question? You guys good? Hearing no questions, I believe I need a motion to close the public hearing at, what time is it? 7:42. 7:42. Can I have a motion?
My God, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second?
Okay, we have a first from trustee Saldana, a second from trustee Gazis. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Trustee Iannacco?
Aye.
Trustee Saldana?
Aye.
Trustee Eck?
Aye.
Trustee Svetka?
Aye.
Trustee Gazis?
Aye.
5-0, the motion carries.
All right, moving right along, can we please have a motion for the consent agenda, please?
I move approval of the consent agenda, which includes the payables for the period ending November 30th, 2025, the preliminary financial report month ending November 30, 2025, and Resolution 2025-33, which is the 2026 board meeting calendar.
Second?
All righty, any questions on the consent agenda items? And those that want to leave after the public hearing, feel free to leave. It's not a problem. I think we need the financial report, please. Oh, did I not take a vote? Not on the roll call. Oh, can we have a roll call vote, please? Sorry.
Just to clarify, do we do that before the financial report or afterwards? For the roll call?
Either way.
Okay, I didn't know, okay.
It's usually, the vote is usually after the financial report.
Yeah.
Procedurally, it doesn't matter.
Okay, all right, well, then I'll do a roll call vote then. Trustee Iannacco.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Svetka.
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
5-0, the motion carries.
And now, the financial summary. Cash on hand at October 31st, 2025 was $2,707,000. $707,967.32. Payments for November of 2025 were $969,356.33. Total revenues for November of 2025 were $456,375.55. And the ending bank balance at November 30th, 2025 was $2,194,986.54.
Thank you for that. All righty.
Question?
Yes.
Yes, I understand that of the money paid, the 969,000 rounded, that more than half of that was bond payments?
That is correct.
And how much do we have left on the bonds?
I'm sorry, I had that answer all queued up in my email and did not send it.
Are those bond payments monthly, by the way?
No, they're every 6 months.
Every
so
6
in
months,
June
okay.
and December, we make those payments.
Okay. About 500,000. Yeah. We looked at it.
I'm having trouble finding it.
That's okay.
but
Do you want to get back to Trustee Eck on that?
Yes, I will send that answer out to everybody.
Thank you.
All righty. Moving right on to new business. Can we please have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from November 13th?
Move approval of the regular meeting minutes of November 13, 2025.
Second that?
Second.
Okay, I have a first from Trustee Saldana and a second from Trustee Eck. Any questions, concerns about the minutes from November 13th? Hearing none, can we please have a roll call vote?
Trustee Iannaco?
Aye.
Trustee Saldana?
Aye.
Trustee Eck?
Aye.
Trustee Svetka?
Aye.
Trustee Gazis?
Aye.
5-0, motion carries.
Item E, can we please have a motion for Resolution 2025-34?
Move approval of Resolution 2025-34, which is amending the joint agreement for the Southeast Association for Special Parks and Recreation, known as CSPAR.
Second.
You gotta move faster.
So this resolution ratifies amendments to our existing intergovernmental agreement with CSPAR, the Southeast Association for Special Parks and Recreation. The changes that are included are to the year of the equalized assessed value that is used to calculate the contributions from each participating community in CSPAR, and to the due date for our payments. It does not change our financial commitment or the services available to Indian Head Park residents.
You said that it changed, I'm sorry, Madam President. You said that it changes the date. What is the change?
So currently, they would base what they charge each community on the relative equalized assessed value of this year. But their concern is that each year Cook County tends to be late in issuing the equalized assessed value, so they don't have anything to go on until it's past the due date for payments. So they're proposing to use the previous year's EAV that is already on the record.
For their estimate of what they're
Yes.
requesting. Got it.
Yeah.
Kevin, one other, if they make that assumption and then they realize they didn't go high enough, can they get us in the rears later on, or how does that work?
No, it's just, it's putting it more of a lagging type situation. So it's still, we're going to still pay the same amount. It's just going to
timing.
be based on the previous year instead of the current year. So eventually we'll pay on this year, next year. It just moves it forward.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, can we please have a roll call vote?
Trustee Iannaco.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Svetka.
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
5-0, motion carries.
Great. Item F, can we please have a motion for the 25-23 for the reduction of the number of AAA licenses, liquor licenses?
Move approval of ordinance 2025-23 to reducing the number of Class AAA licenses.
Second?
For these next three ordinances, this ordinance and the next two, I'm going to have Brandon Fleischer, our administrative intern, introduce those items and explain them for you.
Good evening. The item before you guys is ordinance 2025-23. It would reduce the amount of Class 3A liquor licenses down from 2 down to 1. This is due to the restaurant Willow Hills ceasing operations. And this is standard practice to keep our liquor licenses up to date. And currently, the new business that has taken over, Golden Century, is in process of applying for their new liquor license. In a later meeting, you all would approve for that one, hopefully.
What class is that that they're applying to?
They would also be applying for Class 3A.
So you're going to come back and ask for us to increase the license?
Correct.
So I have a question before, because you said that this is pertaining all three. The next two items, I know that we have to vote on this item, but because you said they were related. The next two items, one reduces Class A and the other one increases Class A. Why are we voting to reduce it than to increase it in the same breath? So just checking.
You can actually, if you would prefer, take those second and third ordinances in one, I think.
But still, why are you
Can we, Pat?
reducing and then increasing the same exact license?
Because the business is changing, the licensee is changing. and
Oh,
we
the
can't
name
leave-
in the ordinance is
Yeah,
different.
we
I'm
can't
so
change-
sorry.
Because
We can't
they're not
leave a vacant-
transferable.
Okay,
You're
so
right.
you're, okay, got it.
Right, so it does seem like a
Well, you could
cumbersome
have just
process,
put it in
but
one
Yeah.
ordinance. Can you? I don't know. Okay, thank you. They're different. They're the same class, that's why I'm asking.
No, it's different.
It's
Talking
a
about second
different
and thirds.
person.
yeah.
It's a different.
I know. I was just,
Yeah.
you said they were related,
Yeah.
and I thought maybe it was the same person, because you said they were related. Okay, let's vote on the first one. He said they were related, so I
Okay.
thought something was wrong here.
If seeing that there are no other questions, can we please have a roll call vote? If there are no other questions.
Trustee Iannaco.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye, and aye for all three.
Trustee
No, but we
Svetka.
only made the motion for one, we have to take them separate.
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
5-0, the motion passes.
Great, that was just item F, which has passed. We will move on to item G. Can I have a motion, please?
I move for consideration and approval of ordinance 20-24, reducing the number of Class A licenses.
I second.
It's increasing.
So
So Brandon, could you please explain what's going on?
Am I good now? So this item in front of you guys would reduce the Class A licenses down from 1 down to 0. This is because Sorrento Bar and Grill has ceased operations. In the next ordinance, it will be a different business, and we will re-increase it up to 1.
All righty, are there any questions on this item before we move to a roll call vote? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Iannaco.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Svetka.
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
5-0, motion carries.
Great, can I have a motion for item H, please?
I move for consideration and approval of ordinance 20-25, increasing the number of Class A licenses.
I second.
Granted.
Once again, this item is for Stars and Stripes, a new business organization, and they would be applying for a Class A liquor license. Upon the board's approval, the liquor commissioner will issue their license once they are approved.
You have to clarify, where's Stars and Stripes and when can we go visit them?
Well, actually, their owners are here.
Oh,
In case you wish to ask them any questions. But yes, they'd be occupying the same space as the Sorrento Bar and Grill, and then
when?
Well, we're going to
Well-
just ask them to come forward and introduce themselves.
there you go.
Like to do that?
I mean, I know they're getting a liquor license and everything. I mean, I need to know.
Well, we can. You don't have to necessarily finish the vote if you want to hear from the.
Yeah, we want to
owners
hear
first.
from them. Yeah, it helps you decide if you want to give
It's
them the liquor
perfectly,
license
it's
or not.
perfectly fine for them to come address the board.
They clearly have a kid that plays hockey.
My name is Dan Miller. This is my wife Estella. We purchased Sorrento and the old Elba location. We're planning on opening, if we get approval, January 1st to make it just an easy transition. The Sorrento will stay as a bar, will serve food from the old Elba, which now we applied for will be called Roselli's Pizza Parlor. My family has been in the pizzeria business for over 60 years in the city. They went out of business years ago, but before my grandfather passed, I got him to write down all the recipes, so we plan on bringing back the recipes from there. My wife, Estella, has been running a bar restaurant in Forest Park for over 20 years, and she's going to bring that experience to both locations.
January 1st.
Well, welcome to the village. Thank you so much for being here to address us, and we appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
All righty, can we please, if there are no more questions on H, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Why not?
Trustee Iannaco,
Aye.
Trustee Saldana,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee Svetka,
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
5-0, the motion carries.
Great, thank you. If we can please move on to public comments. Do we have any other public comments for the evening? Anybody else? We've received none on email, so we will move to reports. Trustee Gazis?
No report.
Trustee Svetska?
I do not have a report at this moment, but Andres, would you like to give any recaps from the recent planning and zoning meeting?
I think he's doing that in his report.
I can do that in the village clerk's report.
Okay, then I will defer to that. Thank you.
Trustee Eck, do you have a report tonight?
Yes, we had a finance committee on Monday, 12/8, and we discussed the administrative bill, plus we took another look at the draft procedures that were introduced at the previous meeting. Our next finance committee is Monday, January 4th at 4 o'clock, and we expect to have a draft to the board, isn't it, I think in the February meeting, for the initial draft for the overall budget. But the public is welcome to our January 4th meeting to participate. January 5th? January 5th. Thank you. Stand corrected. That's it.
Trustee Saldana?
No report.
Trustee Iannaco?
No report.
Moving right along to the village clerk.
As Trustee Svetka mentioned, we had a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on December 2nd. This was focusing around making a recommendation on the policy issues for fences. The two policy questions that we were looking at were, do we allow fences in residential properties generally, and or is there support for allowing fences on areas that abut major roads? We also had the final survey numbers on there as well, so they got to look at the total amount, which was 696 surveys that were returned. So after analysis and much discussion on it, the Planning and Zoning Commission made the recommendation to change the regulations, a preliminary recommendation, I should be clear, to change the regulations on properties that abut major roads, with the understanding that in January and going forward meetings, that they will get the specifics on that. On the other question, for fences in general, their recommendation is a negative recommendation, essentially meaning that they are not supporting any change to the current regulations. So all the current regulations for fences would stay the same, but for their preliminary recommendation about fences that abut
Point of
major
order,
roads.
Madam President. I would like to make a correction. I watched the meeting, and they made a motion to not recommend. And I want to clarify that the motion was stated as such and then seconded, and they never clarified at the end that they were correcting their motion. So they made not a recommendation, which I know it's semantics, but it means that they were not making a recommendation. It's not what they wanted to do, it's what they did. So let's make it very clear.
Well, you are absolutely correct on that one, Trustee Saldana. I will say, however, since it's not a final recommendation, they haven't made a recommendation to the board yet, and those unique factors on it will be cleaned up by the time it gets to the board.
Is that allowed?
Yes, they were not making a recommendation to the board. Nothing has been sent
It
here.
was a motion, and they voted on it. And that was the motion during a public meeting. They do not get to correct it back in the back before, no public and not on record. So one thing is what they voted on, and another thing is what the recommendation.
Let me clarify. This will not be it will not be a backdoor recommendation. This will be part of the final recommendation they make as before they come to the board. So in the meeting, which the current timeline looks like it'll be the February meeting, before they get to, the week before the board meeting, they will be voting on a final recommendation. That means that means the whole package. What they're sending to the board in regards to residentials, what they're sending to the board regarding those that abut the major roads, and all the details that have currently not been ironed out. Now, the reason we are doing that is for that specific purpose that you mentioned. This is a very complex topic. There's a lot that goes into it. And so at the end, when we have the consensus, staff wants them to see exactly what they're voting on, and that will be their final recommendation to be sent to the board, including all the pieces of it. So there will be no confusion in what's being sent. It'll come with a report as well, and they will have to, like I said, come to consensus.
Will that be a public meeting?
It will be a public meeting. It will most likely be the February Planning and Zoning meeting, because they will not be able to send a recommendation to the board without that.
Can we discharge the item?
I'm not sure what you mean by that, but you cannot take any action because this is not on the agenda tonight.
No. But can we discharge that item in a future meeting of ours and take it back?
Well, it was referred to them, I think, to make a recommendation. So I think you have to let that process be completed before, and then act on whatever comes out of the PZC.
When there is a final report issued and brought to the board, there will be clarity on what they voted on. There will be all of the background we have, all the details. It'll be very clear.
So can I please make a comment and make it very clear, and if it's possible to put it on the record, that I'm very displeased at the way they behaved and they handled themselves during the meeting, and that we are asking that they be clear and concise and when they make their recommendations and their motions, and conduct themselves more professional, please.
I will let them know on that.
Thank you.
And I have a question, since we're on the topic, for council. In the absence of a planning and zoning commission recommendation, or in the presence of a recommendation to this board, what is our supermajority requirement as a village board of 6?
Yeah, there's not going to be a supermajority requirement on a text amendment like that they're proposing. So they're going to make a recommendation to you, and it's going to be a majority vote as to whether or not you're going to accept the text amendment. It's not as if it's a variation that went before them and got a negative recommendation that might trigger a supermajority. This is a different animal because it's a text amendment.
So just to be clear, supermajority at the board level of their recommendation, whether we accept it or not, is all that's required.
That's not required. No, it's a majority.
Did I say super?
You did.
Standard majority, 4 out of 6 would be required. And a supermajority would require 5 out of 6 on a different issue without village president's vote, correct? We would need 5 out of the 6.
It depends on how the supermajority is. Sometimes supermajority is drafted in that it requires the concurrence of a majority of all trustees. Sometimes it says of the corporate authorities, which would include the mayor. But at this point,
We don't have to worry about it.
we don't have to worry about it because it's
Thank you.
it's not going to be because it's a text amendment. It's not going to require a supermajority, no matter what comes out of the PZC.
Because that was one of the items that was stated in the meeting. So I just want to make sure that's clarified with planning and zoning, that there isn't a supermajority requirement. Because that came up in the meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll clarify with that as well. I might have misspoke during that
Just
meeting.
want to be transparent.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, they're a recommending body. You are the voting body, the legislative body.
All righty. I think we are on to, clerk, did you finish your report? I just want to make sure we didn't cut you off and you had more to say.
On the subject of fences, I was just going to say, to kind of reiterate what I was speaking about on there, that the current timeline is that in the January meeting, we'll be finalizing all the details for those that are those that abut the major roads, so fence style, location, etc. That's what we're going to be looking at finalizing. And in February, it'll be the final report with the final recommendation that will then be moved to the board. But that should be done, the public should have a very clear view of that very early on. And the last little bit that I was going to speak about is that liquor and gaming licenses, their renewal invoices have been sent out, and those who have paid we are working on issuing them. If you have paid me already, though, if you paid the village already, excuse me, then we will be getting those certificates to those businesses by the end of the week. So I'll get them to them tomorrow. That's all I have.
Thank you. Village attorney?
No report.
Village treasurer already gave his report. Do you have anything else to share? Yeah. Okay. Village administrator.
Yes, I do. Just real quick, I want you to know I filed the 2025 property tax levy before the deadline, so we are good to stay in business. If the county gives us our property tax funds, then we'll be okay. We've also filed the business district sales tax, the 1% tax. We have also filed the grocery tax replacement ordinance. Both of those are with the Illinois Department of Revenue. And we will be working on a project I met with Civic Plus today to start the process of yesterday to start the process of redesigning our website to make it more user-friendly, more useful to the residents, and just updated in every way. So that's my report.
I did have a comment you had mentioned to me.
Your microphone, please. Microphone.
That in the IML, there is an article in regards to statutory duties for municipal officials, and I think you said you were going to do something on that?
Yes, we're working on an enhanced version of the board calendar. So in your packet tonight was the resolution passing the board calendar for 2026, but we'll be issuing a calendar that has significant dates for the board, such as when our levy is due, when our audit is due, when our budget is due, so that we have a better sense of the rhythm of the board, and that will be a public information. It'll be posted on our website as well.
There's also items in that article that relate to when the village needs to respond, not just the board, but also the village needs to publish certain information. Would that be also included?
We'll have that as an internal document. Yeah.
Internal to?
Available for staff and the board.
And board. Thank you.
And we have also, as I've mentioned before, we've received proposals from 3 companies for waste hauling. We are still reviewing that. We have a subcommittee that is made up of Trustee Gazis, Trustee Eck, and myself, and we're reviewing the proposals, looking for what offers the most value for the village and the community as a whole, and the residents. And we're planning to bring something to the January meeting for the board to consider and vote on.
Joe, would you like to give the Public Works report?
Sure. Just a couple of items. The pump house, chlorine switchover from gas to liquid. We're waiting on the IEPA permit. We had to resubmit because I initially signed off on it, but President Wittenberg had to sign off on it, so they had to resubmit. There wasn't a problem with it, it's just that she had to sign off on it. So we're waiting on that. Once we get that, we can start moving forward on that project. Also met with Strand on our louvers at the Public Works building, and he got some pictures, and they're going to do the design stage on that. And once we get that in place, I can start soliciting some vendors to do the work over there. Both these projects are on this year's fiscal year budget. We applied for the Tree City USA application. It's currently in the state level, waiting for approval. I don't foresee any issues on getting that. Want to commend my team on the decorations throughout town. We were able to do a little bit more this year than we've done in the past, and we've gotten some positive feedback on how that turned out. And then obviously it's snow season, so what we're trying to do is put together a snow and ice control policy, and I've been working with Brandon here to come up with a policy to put in place. But in the meantime, I have a few items that I'd like to address. We've gotten good feedback also from our snow plowing, but obviously there are some areas that we get calls and questions on all the time. Just a few things that we do, just so that people know. During a storm, basically what we're trying to do is keep the roads open and passable. So that's our main goal during a snow event, is to just keep the main roads open and try and hit everything at least with one pass. Our priorities are the main streets, hills, intersections, so forth. Once the snow event is done, we try and go curb to curb, get everything off the roads. Cul-de-sacs and dead-end roads are unfortunately not a high priority, so they kind of get done last. We do, like I said, try and make a pass through there, but we'll do the final cleanup once the storm is complete. Couple of the items that we put in the packet was for the homeowners, please try not to push your snow out into the street because once we come through and you're throwing it back in there again, it's just causing issues. And we've been getting some complaints about snow being there after we've gone by, and it's not because of us. It's because some people are doing their personal driveways or whatever and just bringing it back out in the streets. So we ask that you try and keep it on your property. Or if you're plowing out your driveway, do it downstream so we're not pushing it back in on your property. And as far as like plowing near mailboxes, we try and get as close as we can, obviously without damaging mailboxes, but unfortunately the snow has to go off the road, so sometimes it gets a little pushed toward the mailboxes. Public Works Department is a smaller staff. We don't have time to come out and dig out mailboxes, so there is some homeowner responsibility to cleaning up some of the areas that we do. We have a priority map, and I'd like to get this out even before we get the snow and ice policy in place. I'd like to get this map on the website so people can see what our priority streets are. It'll be a color-coded map to show what streets are getting done first, second, third, and so forth, and that'll give people a better idea of how our operations work. And that's my report.
Thank you. Chief Walsh?
Thank you. Last meeting, I said that we were going to do Black Friday for the retail theft grant. I postponed that because I discovered that the southwest suburbs were experiencing some types of crime out there, that there's a pattern or hitting some of the suburbs out there. I did an inquiry of the nearby areas. We have not had that occurring here. But those types of crimes seem to always move and switch and go to different areas. So I'd rather use the money if we are having those incidents for the type of crime. I'll explain what it is later. I'm not going to say it over the meeting. But that's why we haven't done anything. I said we were going to do it, but I postponed it because I want to focus on this if it does come our way. Speed cameras. A lot of requests for speed cameras on our streets. I talked to Officer Majewski. This weather has frozen them shut, and he's having difficulty replacing the batteries. So I'm going to have him take them in and take them down because I don't want them to get damaged in any way. Pardon me? They're down already? Okay, well, thank you. I didn't know that. Thank you. But so we got them in. We're going to charge the batteries. We'll get them back up. We'll get them ready to go. And lastly, I just want to make a shout out to part-time police officer Lee Zeitland. He retired earlier this year from Indian Head Park with 22 years of service. He retired as a lieutenant from Brookfield Zoo today with 43 years of service. He is an absolute police ambassador. He is just great for policing, and it's a shame that he had to retire, but 43 years I think is enough. So I just wanted to congratulate Lee on his retirement today. And if I don't see people at the Christmas party, Merry Christmas.
And I think we did forget one item. We are trying a pilot program right now, so overnight street parking enforcement will be suspended from December 26th until January 1st for the holidays. January 22nd, December 22nd, right? So we are suspending the enforcement of overnight parking from December 22nd until January 1st for the holidays. But Public Works and our staff really want to make sure residents know that snow parking regulations remain in effect. So if you see the snow, please remove your cars from on street so our plows can do their jobs. Street parking is prohibited for 12 hours when snowfall is 2+ inches to allow for salting and to facilitate plowing of village streets. So we want to try this to see. Many of our neighboring suburbs have overnight parking suspended during the holidays. So we're going to try this. And if it goes really well, then we're going to publicize it. We already have, actually.
Yes.
It's been on Facebook. So we're going to try it, and then we can codify it if needed later, if it works well. If we find that it doesn't work well, then we'll have those discussions.
And on Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, okay. So I just wanted everybody to know that we are trying that out, and if you didn't hear that, please tell your neighbors and your friends that you can park on the street during December 22nd to January 1st.
I did get a question earlier today for clarification on this policy, and I want to state for everyone that the 12-hour window begins at the point in time that snow accumulation reaches or exceeds 2 inches, even if that's in the middle of the night, and that there may be tickets issued if you do not remove your car from the street when the snow accumulation reaches 2 or more inches. And again, this is done to ensure safety and effective cleaning of the snow and ice from all public roadways.
All righty, if there is anything else, did I miss anybody? I've been good at that lately. You good? Everybody good? If we are all done, can I have a motion for adjournment, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All righty, that motion carries. Good night. Have a great holiday.
During the, what was it?